Heroes first, veterans together, legacy forever. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of getting to know our heroes on a much deeper level. I am your host, Josh White, and this is the Hero Front Podcast. Let's get after it. What is up, everyone? Josh White here, and I am so honored for you to be listening today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope this fires you up as much as it did me, because we got to talk to my buddy Trey McGuire. He leads the non-profit organization Every Warrior, and it can be found on everywarrior.com. It's also in the Google Play Store and in the Apple App Store. The Every Warrior app is fire, and your boy's podcast is going to be on it, so you best download it. What I love about Trey is that he is so transparent and just so vulnerable with his story. You see, there's a reason why he wants to help veterans. There's a reason why he wants to help people. There's a reason why he comes from such a place of love. It's because he himself was at such a dark moment, because one night he found himself with a shotgun on his lap. And we're going to find out what led to that and how he got to where he's at today, running this incredible organization, Every Warrior, for 6 years and helping thousands of airmen. How did he do it? We're going to find out. We're not only going to find out about Trey McGuire and this incredible journey, we're going to find out some success stories from his nonprofit, Every Warrior. Let's get after it. I'm going to run him through the Hero's Gauntlet, which is 3 questions that I'm going to come up with on the fly. First question of the Hero's Gauntlet, Trey, is what is your favorite book and why?
Favorite book, Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Oh, snap.
Because it talks about vulnerability. I love the fact that it's revolutionized my life. I'm actually writing a blog as we speak about the first part where she quotes the story of the man in the arena, and it has changed my life. One of our service members, one of our airmen who's actually stationed down at Tyndall now, told me to read it when I was going through one of my downtimes, I guess you could say. And as we were starting not starting the network, we had been well into it. But as we were becoming friends, he stopped me and said, "Man, you need to read this book." And I did, and then it's been life-changing.
That's awesome. And on the last episode, I talked to Colonel Dee Dee Halfhill.
Yep.
Who's in that book.
Mm-hmm. She is. And she actually was our MSG commander here at Barksdale for a while, and I got to know her well. And she really, I don't want to say that she was a part of the reason we were successful as an organization, but not only did she take care of service members, but she also helped lead young, dumb civilians too.
Yeah, she blew my mind, man. Like, she was just dropping knowledge bombs left
Absolutely.
and right. I mean, she is incredible. So
Absolutely.
You're going to like that episode if you're a fan of Brene Brown. Trust me.
Yes.
Okay. Question number 2. While leading Every Warrior, what has been your proudest moment?
Oh, Lord. Proudest moment would have to be getting to know really, I don't know, the one. Getting to know a lot of absolutely
This
amazing,
stumps everybody.
But I have to say, if I'm being honest with myself, the proudest moment was probably one of the first times that I actually just, probably like I did you, shot a random cold call to you and be like, "Hey, I've seen you. I want to know you." But I did that face to face with a guy who was actually selling armbands in one of our arenas here in town, here in Shreveport Bossier. And he was trying to raise money to get some funds for POW MIA families. And I'm like, all right, this dude over here is doing stuff related to military. What's he up to? Come to find out, he was a captain at the time, prior enlisted. And very, very, very long story short, if you go to our website now, back up. I had absolutely no idea who this guy was, but if you go to our website now, he is listed as our vice president and the guy who will take over this thing if I die tomorrow. But he has earned and just walked into my life and become not, I don't even want to belittle it down to one of the best friends I've ever had. He's become the right-hand man to what we do and the guy that I trust more than anybody in what we do. And Eric Hoffman, but it all started out of just a random chance encounter that struck up a friendship. And then we were able to meet a need he had because the organization he was raising money for, which he had just sent, fast forward, he had sent a big check to, he turned around and asked them for some funding that because he had a family who needed to provide some funeral services for their family member who they had just found from, I think, Vietnam maybe, but they could not meet the need, or I don't know if they would not or whatever, but they did not meet the need for the family. It was like $500. And Eric could not fathom the fact that no questions asked. We just were able to meet the need for him and didn't want anything back in return. And I tell you what, he's been a part of this ever since and has just given his all to it. And I would say that if I had to pick one of my, I don't know if proudest moments is the right word, but one of the moments where that changed the course of everything that we're about and everything that we do. That moment was probably the biggest one that changed the course of us.
Well, so that chance encounter changed both of your lives forever.
Absolutely. 100%.
That's awesome. Eric, yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook too. Great. He seems like a great dude. He's got a solid beard.
Yes, he does. And he went from retirement. You can go, I'll show you one of his embarrassing retirement pictures with no beard. But, and then I was the one who had the beard. And then he ended up quickly outdoing me, which is not cool at all. So,
it's messed up,
yeah,
Eric.
It is. And people will literally walk up to us sometimes and be like, oh, you got to have a beard to be a part of Every Warrior. Like, no, but it does help.
Awesome, man. All right. Last question for the Heroes Gauntlet. If you could talk to any famous deceased person or well-known or historically known deceased person, who would you have that conversation with?
If I don't know how famous or well-known this is, but I'm sure that the name Peter in the Bible is probably known to a lot of people. If not, that's fine. I'll explain a little bit of who he is. He's one of Jesus' disciples. And this is the reason I want to talk to him, is not because of anything. I'd love to hear his firsthand encounters of being with Jesus, but if you read anything, if you know anything about Peter in the Bible, he was the perpetual screw up. And I would absolutely love to sit down and just ask him how he survived knowing that, being that, realizing that, and how that manifested itself in his life day in, day out, because I identify a lot with him. And I look at my life, sometimes I'm hot-headed. I've struggled with anger, struggled with depression. I've had every single reason why I could not do what I do or should not do what I do or what I get to do. And he had the same thing, at every single reason to be completely disqualified from what he did. And not only obviously did Jesus still love him and use him, but he had the privilege, I guess, of understanding and realizing that he could make a difference, even though he had royally messed up over and over and over and over again. And I struggled with that a lot, and I still do. And I would love to sit down and have that conversation with him.
Yeah, it seems like everyone, there's a lot of stories in the Bible like that with they all seem to be underdogs. They
Mhm.
all seem to be flawed individuals that make tons of mistakes.
Absolutely.
And then, it's always inspiring to hear how they bounce back from that.
Absolutely.
He in particular had many under his belt, but yeah, I went through an Old Testament and New Testament college courses, and I just could not believe,
Mhm.
the stories and the mistakes that like his disciples made, and Moses and
Absolutely.
David, and just
Mhm.
they create their own problems for themselves.
Yes. Create your own disaster.
They create their own disaster. They just do. And then you're just like, okay, we got to get out of this now.
Mhm.
I love that, man. That was a great, I thought you were going to say
Thank you.
Jesus because it's obvious.
Right. That's obvious.
Although I have a theory, if we found a way to talk to Jesus, it would create like a black hole or something. Like it's just not possible.
Yeah. 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 And
So
we,
I'm impressed that you went with it in a different direction with that.
yeah,
Um,
I'm not your typical pastor, I guess you could say.
yeah. All right, Trey. So you lead the nonprofit org Every Warrior, and
Yes.
let's flash forward to present day. You're 6 years into this program. Let us know what Every Warrior is all about.
If we could sum it up into one sentence, we're about making sure that our service members are taken care of, making sure you've got what you need, and then making sure that you understand that who you really are, that you understand your value, you understand that you matter. Yeah, that's cliche, but we want to make sure you understand that and realize that we hit you square in the face with the truth of that. And then using your experiences, using your screw ups, using your hardest days, using everything, man, we want to help you go out and influence the world around you.
So do you have any examples on just even here recently on how you helped maybe someone in the Air Force? Because you're close to Barksdale, so I would assume you work with the Air Force probably
Absolutely.
more.
Yeah,
right?
We are very, very heavy Air Force. I want to change that. I don't want to be heavy on any branch. I want us to be for every single warrior. But yes, our current reality is that we are heavy Air Force and heavy Barksdale. Now being 6 years into this, we have seen a lot of come and go. So we've seen people actually leave and come back. We have people, and I have some of my best friends and some of the coolest, most amazing people I've ever met, yourself included, that I've never even laid eyes on, physically, thanks to the military life that I didn't even know existed really behind the scenes. But yeah, so we are very heavy Barksdale, very heavy in the Air Force. But I would say a couple of examples, man. Let me think about that for a second. Because there is no greater success for what we do. There's no greater win for what we do than that service member who has decided, man, it's time for me to get out there and do something. It's time for me to take my story and get out there and do something. And there's a kid right now, I say kid, he's 24, 25. He actually has slept in this room that I'm filming this in because before he went to deploy, he was actually going to be faced with PCSing when he got back from his current deployment, which happens now in about a month. But he stayed with us for 2 or 3 weeks, and he'll be staying with us again when he gets back here before he does PCS. But man, I'm telling you, he has single-handedly been one of the biggest inspirations to me, because if he tells a story, and I believe he would not mind me saying this at all. He will tell you that there were 3 different instances where he put the belt around his neck and tried to hang himself in his closet. 1 failed, 2, he just couldn't do it. He could not just kick the chair out from under him. And with that, we were able to really help him a lot. He's been, just through the relational care that we give. But now he messaged me the other day, literally within 2 weeks ago. He messaged me about his hopes and dreams for the future and how what that looks like career wise and what he wants to see happen and how he wants to take his story and help other people who are struggling with the exact same thing, or struggles that don't even have anything to do with suicide, so to speak. But he's like a little brother to me. And I will say he is the poster child for success and why we do what we do. There's another guy, Alan Martinez. He is one of our warriors here. He's a mechanic maintenance guy. Was over here this morning picking up one of my trailers so he could help move. Had struggled with his with family. He had struggled with the divorce of his first wife and their subsequent child that they have, and has really taken the pain of that and is now channeling that, using that, and becoming the husband that he is now to his new wife, and the daddy that he is becoming to his little girl or little boy that they just had within the past month. And I'm being able to watch him just grow and lead and take everything that he dealt with and use it now for his own personal growth and development and leadership. So those are two stories of many that if I sat here long enough, I could think of story after story after story, and we would never go home. There's not enough bandwidth to tell the stories of people who, not that we've impacted, but people who have gotten the understanding that, you know what, the crap hits the fan in my life, I can use it. I can sit in it and wallow and do nothing, or you know what, I can face it together with people around me, and I can deal with this. I can learn from it, and you know what, that brings that hope in you that there is some purpose for me. And you know what, maybe everything that's happening in my life is kind of intertwined into that.
Yeah, so it sounds like you are there for people who might need you for financial struggles. Perhaps maybe they got put into a bad spot, right?
Yeah.
They need help. Yeah. People who don't have a place to stay. Maybe the PCS and the deployment didn't line up right. Mm-hmm. People who need help moving. People who...
Man, people ask us all the time, what do you do? What do y'all do? What do y'all do? If you compare us to other, which I don't say compare, but if you do look at us aside of other nonprofits or charities, for the most part, a lot of charities, a lot of nonprofits serve a people who can't really, I don't want to say can't help themselves, but if you look at like the homeless population or something like that, they need a lot of care, of programming, of practical steps that they can take. And we deal with that a little bit, but it's different because we serve people who are completely capable. But people, so defining the actual programs that we offer sometimes can be a little tricky because the stuff that we deal with is not seen a lot of times in out in person. Like you can't see what's going on inside somebody's head because inside that uniform, slap a smile on your face and you do your job. You take care of what needs to be taken care of and all of that. So when people do ask us, what do y'all do? Our response simply now is just, what do you need? What do you need? What's the thing that you need that's going to meet the immediate need, take care of something in your mind, whatever. And I'm telling you, the needs, you can on that too. It's limitless. We've seen financial issues. We're helping some family right now. The husband's TDY, the wife can't drive. and their kids are at home, and we're helping them get groceries. I mean, that's a very simple need. We're helping with we were just asked by a buddy of mine to help with some financial needs concerning a therapy dog that he's getting. We've been able to meet the needs with everything from a gift card for some groceries for a family who just moved here that everything didn't line up right for him, to a airplane ticket for a buddy of mine who actually wasn't really a buddy of mine. I knew him as an acquaintance, and I saw on Facebook that he had posted for people to remember his family because his grandpa had died. And through a conversation that we struck up over Facebook Messenger with him in Japan, we were able to offer him, didn't even ask for it, but offer him the finances to help fly him home so that he could not just say goodbye to his grandpa, but deal with the fact that his other two grandparents had COVID, and that it had been a bad season for him mentally. And he got the time away to just kind of regroup. And those stories, those little things that we're able to do without wanting anything in return, that's the real, second to the relational aspect of what we do, that's the win, because those things help create those relationships.
Yeah, a kind gesture like that could change their whole life.
It very well could.
He could have went down a deep, dark depression, started drinking, started isolating himself. He's across the planet from his family. He can't be there for them. He feels guilty. And now he doesn't have any of that baggage because he got to go and spend time with his family and be there for them, and have them be there for him. And you saved him a lot of heartache. So, I mean, y'all are changing lives out there. And Trey, one thing I appreciate too is that you also, like, what it sounds like is you not only help them with that situation, but then you kind of adopt them, take them under your wing, and mentor them.
Yep, very much so. But some of the good times that I do share, where I have to just kind of laugh a little bit, is when we've kind of positioned ourselves around somebody. We've been able to take care of them and meet some need, and then what, life kind of goes your way, and they PCS or something happens, and you don't lose contact, you don't lose that friendship, but you just haven't talked to each other in what might end up being a year or so, and then, man, life happens, and then here we are, and we're able to then come in and care. It's just, so yeah, adoption, I guess you could say, is a good word. I've never really looked at it that way. I guess that's kind of natural for me personally. I'm adopted. Before we had my little girl, we were looking at adoption. Like the literal week we found out we were pregnant, back in November of 2019, at age 36, by the way.
I'm right there with you, man.
We were looking at adopting and getting ready to make some tough decisions in that world. But adoption to me is something that is extremely important, because I personally am adopted, and my life was radically changed from the beginning because somebody chose me. And you know what? We get to do what we do because we choose to do it, because we love what we do. And we choose to, as a people, as a culture, as yes, a nonprofit, but as people, man, we get to choose to show up in the morning and put ourselves right out there with them, with the exact same good, bad, and ugly that you guys have, and help, under our wing, take care of people. But every time I've been able to literally sit and take somebody under my wing, or Eric has, or Julie, or Garrett, or anybody else on our team has, I will say that they've always found themselves being just as much a beneficiary of the relationship, because you think that it's a mentoring relationship or something like that, but just because you just sit at the leadership helm of a nonprofit that gets to do cool things does not mean that you're in any way, shape, form, or fashion exempt from everyday life. And what I believe is one of the driving forces behind I guess you could say, success of what we do, is because we just put ourselves out there, and you're like, you know what, we're just as real as you are. And the same life that slaps you in the face slaps us in the face. So if you do find yourself in relationship with us, just as much help as we're able to give you, guess what? One day you're probably going to need, your boy right here is probably going to need someone to lean on as well. I know that I have found those relationships here. So it is very, very reciprocal.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like you kind of build that gratitude for that person, and you get so much joy out of helping them. And then through that journey, you learn about yourself, right? And they help you, and they listen to you, and then they start giving you feedback, and pretty soon, you know, y'all are just really close and kind of are able to lean on each other when you need to.
Sure.
So, Trey, that's the present day. Y'all are kicking butt, helping so many airmen out there, and you have so many success stories, but it didn't always used to be that way, right, Trey? Like you had to work your tail off to get to this point in your life. So why don't you run us through your journey, and that would kind of explain to us what fuels you.
I'm going to try to be brief, but I don't know if I can, because there's a lot. 6 years ago was when we incorporated. May 1st, 2015, we incorporated as a nonprofit. Prior to that, we had done in November of 2014, me and a buddy of mine had created a event called the Warriors Thanksgiving Feast, which now holds, it is not official because 2020 we were going to try to make it official, and COVID hit and the feast never happened. But an event that in 2014 had I think 230 or so service members from here around Barksdale come to it, saw about 1,000 show up in 2019, and actually the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest Thanksgiving dinner on the planet. And it was 1,000 service members and their families. That's a cool story, but that means absolutely nothing when it comes to what we do or why we do what we do. And actually, I'm kind of glad COVID shut down some of our events, because we were able to focus on the individual one-on-one care that we do. Now, will we do events and stuff in the future? Yeah, we've got one scheduled for November, a big fireworks thing here. And as we expand, we're going to look at what that looks like other places. But it all started out of a Thanksgiving dinner that we did in 2014. Excuse me. Prior to that, I had been serving in our local church community here in town, and had seen a lot of service members come and go, and we were able to just become friends with them. And I was able to become very close to some of these guys, their families, still to this day. There's 6 guys who were very instrumental in the very beginning of our organization, and we're all friends to this day. 2 of them are deployed. One is deploying today, one's stationed in California, one's in Guam, one's in Texas. And I kid you not, they were life-changing to me before we ever knew what we were doing, before we ever knew that a nonprofit was even in the future. These guys were a part of it. But what really and truly created those bonds was the fact that in some of these situations, I found myself struggling with depression, with severe anger. Me and my wife had gotten married in 2010. We found out that we were expecting on 3 different occasions, and we lost those 3 to miscarriage. Had no idea why we could not keep or stay pregnant. But if you fast forward to now, you may have heard her hollering up there. I have a 13-month-old. So that is nothing short of a little crawling miracle. The pride and joy of my life, second to my wife. But we saw our stories begin intersecting, and those guys became some of those guys who really helped me through those deep, dark times My father had gone to prison in that moment, in that season as well. We lost my mom to some health issues. Fast forward, we ended up losing my wife's dad. There was a lot of different circumstances. I worked, like I said, in the church world around here, and I allowed my depression and anger to probably make me, if you ask some of my coworkers from back then, who some I'm still good friends with today, if you ask them, probably made me a horrific person to work with. So when I say that there's absolutely no reason that I should be a part of, much less leading as executive director, a nonprofit as the most ADD, unorganized person you'll probably ever meet. Yeah, I'm in no way, shape, form, or fashion qualified to do what I do. I have a degree in production. I'm a licensed and ordained minister, and I run a charity. I don't understand how those things happen, but they just do. And I attribute that to experience and to the fact that that journey led me to I love doing. And that's taking care of people, because people took care of me in my latest. In that season, I would say probably 2013, my wife walked in one night and 2:00 in the morning, and my shotgun was sitting in my lap loaded. I don't know what would have happened, but it was. And this is still the same guy who was at the time working for a church, was working with his closest friends, had the same amazing wife I have today, but was completely hopeless. Had thought I failed more than I could be restored. Had dealt with humiliation. I wanted to just quit hurting and quit being a perpetual screw up, lack of a lot better term. My wife lovingly just cared for me. She didn't panic. She didn't freak out. She didn't do anything like that. That night was when I learned that I could be seen, that I could be known, I could be fully vulnerable and be okay. And it was okay that people loved me for me, that they didn't love me for what I brought to the table. They didn't care what kind of garbage I was dealing with. They just loved me for me. And from that day forward, as we started the network, I made a vow that I would never allow these service members that I get to deal with, my guys, my military families, my warriors. And yeah, I say mine because they're dadgummit, they're mine. I don't care. They're mine. They're my family. I would never allow them to feel the way I felt alone. Didn't say I wouldn't allow y'all to not feel the way I felt, but I wouldn't let you feel that way alone. That we would do everything we could to make sure that you understand those key things that I thought I knew, that until I experienced it, man, I didn't have a clue.
Did that just hit you out of nowhere that night? Like, was it unexpected, or was it on your mind for?
Nope. I woke up in the middle of the night, completely ready to just end it all, and there was no precursor to it. There was no thought. Yes, there was depression. There was anger. All of that was there. But the thought of ending my life, no, it was not there prior to. And in about 5 minutes, I'd made a decision and started to act on it.
Well, that's really scary, Trey. I'm so glad that, you're here with us today. We all have those real bad moments of vulnerability, and it's just so important to have someone in your corner to help pull you out of that dark moment. What do you think pulled you out of that dark moment?
Second to my wife, second to people, because I believe people are always the catalyst to helping pull us out of those deep, dark moments. I had somebody around the same time asked me a question. If you could do anything, failure wasn't possible and money wasn't a problem. If you could do anything, what would you do? And I just said, the first thing that popped in my mind was I would do something for military. And from that moment forward, I decided, you know what, it's time for me to just begin taking steps towards that purpose and giving myself over to that. So looking back, I can sit here and tell you that I started making decisions over and over and over to just insert myself around service members, to put myself there and to chase that dream. I didn't realize that's what I was doing at that time, but chasing the dream, as scary as it was, looking back over the past 7-8 years, yeah, I can tell you that's what saved my life.
Yeah, that's why I put you in touch with Shay Sparks, because she's got a similar type of journey where she hadn't directly served, but time and time again, she kept getting put in service members' lives.
Yes.
To be there for them. So when she told me that and I learned that about her, I was like, I have to link y'all two up, because you both come from like the same place of love, and I know y'all can do amazing things together. But I love that, you were able to connect almost like you connect your struggle with service members. You knew there was a group of people suffering. You knew personally how that felt. And so, you found it in your heart to start helping them any way you could. And you just kind of grew that over a 6-year period. So that's pretty incredible, Trey. And the more that you help them, you're kind of helping yourself too, right? That Trey that was in his dark moment, you're helping that guy out every time you help an airman out.
That little kid who was dying for validation, who was dying to be seen, who was dying to be known.
So I just talked with Dee Dee Halfhill, who's friends with Brene Brown, and part of our conversation was like what women deal with and what men deal with. Women deal with trying to be perfect all the time, and that leads to depression for women. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, looking young, having a great attitude, things like that. And then for men, it was more like being seen, being relevant,
being understood, being seen, like being valued.
Right. That was where a man could enter a depression state if he wasn't feeling valued.
Absolutely.
So Trey, it's hard to, and I'm speaking from experience, it's so hard to not feel valued or seen and go on this path of depression. And before you know it, it's too late. By the time you realize there's a problem, you're probably in a pretty bad spot. And to get out of that, you cannot fix it overnight.
No, you can't. And you're exactly right. You can't fix it overnight. To this day, I have to continually lean on and allow kind of that, call it my prescription for mental health. I have to allow that to continuously evolve. I mean, even since Adley's been born, I will say that has actually kind of evolved in and of itself, what it takes for me to stay, not from crashing, but just stay where I'm supposed to be. And that includes antidepressants, it includes counseling, it includes vulnerability, it includes friends, relationships, pressing myself in places where I never really thought I would do. Sit here and talking. Yeah, I can talk all day long to people, but facing the insecurities and stuff is like, there's no reason why you should be sitting here having an interview podcast with me. Who in the world am I? Now, great. Yeah, that's exactly right. Who am I? I'm nobody when it comes to the big scheme of things. And I like it that way, but actually just getting out there and doing things that put me out of my comfort zone a little bit. All of those things kind of merge together to kind of help me stay sane. But I really do believe that it is hard to pull yourself out of it without getting the help that you 100% deserve. And I would say it's nearly impossible. And the help you deserve is really and truly the spectrum is limitless when it comes to whatever it takes for you to be healthy. Let's explore those things and let's figure it out. But it takes patience, it takes love, it takes care, it takes understanding, it takes acceptance, it takes accepting reality, it takes becoming okay with the fact that, you know what, you may never have a kid. That was one thing that really bothered me. And now I have to become okay with the fact that I'm trying to do a podcast and my kid's crying in the background. But that's okay.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have, but I had to become okay with the fact that that might not happen. Yeah. And you never become okay with it, but you get to a place to where when you can flip a switch in there somewhere, I don't know, and I'm not a psychiatrist. I got a buddy of mine who does that. I'm not any of that. But what I will say is that you get to the place to where you realize that, you know what, okay, this is my reality. And instead of just sitting here and stewing on it, instead of sitting here and letting it drive me absolutely to the point of no return, how can I use this? And whenever that switch in my mind or in my heart got flipped, or whenever that became just okay, I will say that there has not been a week that goes by that I've not been able to sit and talk to some service member, whether they've had one stripe on their arm or birds on their collar or whatever. It doesn't matter about any of that. But what matters is the fact that we've been able to sit and talk about daddy issues, depression, anger, loss of a family member, loss of a parent, loss of a child, unexpected things happening, why in the world people get what you believe you deserve, all of that stuff. I get to use it. I get to help people understand that reality. And that single-handedly is what I believe has helped the most pull me out of depression, is that I've been able to realize that, you know what, these kids that we get to be friends with, be family with, man, I can't understand what you guys deal with, but I somehow get to be a part of helping you deal with it. Just to illustrate the fact that I can't really comprehend what you guys as service members go through. My daughter was about 2 months old. Keep in mind, she was 2.5 months premature, and my wife almost gave her life during her birth. But again, both are healthy and all that. But I got a phone call from a good friend of mine who is a first sergeant. He was serving in Guam. His little brother had decided to take his own life. He had fallen victim to suicide. And they asked me to come officiate the funeral down in Florida. So I flew down to Cocoa Beach. Well, I flew down to Orlando and drove over to Cocoa Beach. Was going to be gone for a total of 72 hours to go and help be with my friend, take care of his family, and officiate the funeral. I got in my hotel room, and I kid you not, I got hit with a homesickness that I've never felt in my life, that did not go away until I got on the plane to come home. And I'm in Florida. I mean, I could have been at the beach if I wanted to. I didn't want to do nothing. I was able to actually go see a buddy of mine as well, that's stationed at MacDill. And we met up at Disney Springs in Orlando, just so that I could get out of the hotel, because I could not stand to be there by myself, because I missed my dang family so much, which I love traveling. But I haven't traveled since, really, without them. In the past year or so, because of the fact that, you know what, I don't want to feel that feeling again. And man, I can't imagine. I got a friend of mine right now who is leaving today to go to deploy. And I know that is every single day and every single service member's life, multiple times. So yeah, I don't even believe I have a glimpse of really and truly what you guys go through.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Trey. And even me, that I've been in, almost 17 years, but there's certain career fields that just leave more than others. So,
Mhm.
there's certain airmen that I've come across that, I've deployed 5, 6, 7 times, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
and they have a wife and a kid, and
Mhm.
it is, it's heartbreaking,
Yep,
to put yourself in their shoes, to be gone that often and try to
absolutely.
maintain your family. I mean, that is tough.
Mhm.
And you mentioned your buddy was a first shirt, and I wanted to
Mhm.
mention this earlier in our talk, Trey, but when you say that, when you're talking about Every Warrior and how basically how can we help you, name it and we can do it. You guys basically are a first shirt organization. I mean, you're there for people to help with the situation. You're a jack of all trades, but on the flip side, you're there for like the mentorship and kind of adopting them and taking them under your wing.
Right.
You were describing a first sergeant.
That's what we want to be, without even realizing that that's what we were. We weren't setting out to be anything like that. We were setting out to just want to take care of people. But yes, we've been. I've heard that before, and I usually just reply to that one and be like, "That's why there are BFFs." The first sergeants are first sergeants, chaplains, and then people like yourself who have realized, you know what, I'm a senior NCO, or I'm a senior leader, and I'm going to take it upon myself to just lead and just quit talking and start doing. Um, those three types of people are our closest, I guess you could say, friends when it comes to actually keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the military world and actually taking care of people on a collectively. Um, yeah. So.
Yeah. And I do what I do because, for one, I love people, but for two, I
Mhm.
also like the conversations I have are things I wish I heard, when I was an airman, when I felt
Right.
alone. I was working 12s. I was on night shift, very, very isolating time in my
Mhm.
life. Lots of time to think, which was not a good thing at that time for me. It was kind
Mhm.
of too much time to think sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
and I was just searching for answers and mentors and Googling things and I just didn't have any where to look or anyone to talk to at certain points. So I try to have the conversations that I wish I could have heard back then.
That's good. That's
And
awesome.
to have the courage to do that, to have those conversations, to have the,
Mhm.
like you said, the vulnerability
Absolutely.
to safely express yourself. It's just scary to pause and
Mhm.
to dig deep within yourself and really look at yourself in the mirror and face that truth and then share it with someone. That's a tough
There's
thing to do.
the one thing I've learned when it comes to that is because insecurity is something that I have struggled with for forever. And I've struggled with uh, what fearing what people think of me. And do I fit in? What do they think? Are they going to think I'm a failure? Are they going to think I'm just goofy? What are they going to think? Um, but the way that I've learned, and this is nothing that's just like earth shattering, but the way I've learned to really deal with that is to just own it. And because when you own it, nobody can argue with it. When you own the fact that, yeah, there was a point in time where I almost ended my own life, people can't argue with that. People can't wonder. You're not leaving anything up to wonder. You're not leaving anything up to chance. You are saying that this is what happened in my world. This is where I've been. And it's not up for your debate. It is my reality. And I'm not asking for your approval of it because it's mine. It's my story. It's my truth. And how you, when you talked about your thing the other day with alcohol and stuff and your struggles with that, yeah, that probably took tons of courage for you to actually allow those words to fly out of your mouth. But to the service member out there who is looking for hope that he can break that same cycle, he's going to look to you. And that right there overshadows so exponentially overshadows what somebody might think about the fact that you struggle with alcohol. And if they do, who cares? Because really and truly, they they do have their own stuff that they need to deal with. And one day, because of the fact that you've shared your struggles with alcohol, one day you probably might find yourself on the receiving end of a phone call from that person that you might have been afraid might judge you or might think something of you because of the fact that they remembered now that they are facing their rock bottom, they're facing their moment, that you shared your truth and you were brave enough and vulnerable enough to own your truth, own where you've been, own what you're struggling with. Yeah, that right there, I believe, is what shuts up the naysayers and the gossipers and all that stuff. Because you ain't going to gossip about something I done admitted. You can gossip about it all day long, but I don't care. I can't care. I don't have the mental capacity to care, because really and truly, the reason I share the story about suicide is because I do want to help other people with it, and because it is very real. And if I can help one person understand that, you know what, you're not a complete failure or anything because you've had those thoughts or because you've dealt with it, man, then it was worth it to me.
Yeah, man. And I've had some real bad moments of weakness too. It's kind of like, you know, a years and years of going on a downward spiral, and then an event triggers you and puts you past, you know, breaks through all your barriers because you're in such a vulnerable state that
Absolutely.
in that moment, you know, you're very, very vulnerable, and suddenly you find yourself, you know, with a shotgun on your lap, and you don't know how you got there, you know.
Yep.
So that's exactly why I take care of myself so much now. And I try to preach that it's very important to take care of yourself. And a lot of Air Force doctrine is kind of like frowned upon because it's kind of cookie cutter sometimes. But the one that I think, you know, they really got right is the mental, social, spiritual, and physical, those pillars, and maintaining those pillars and the importance of them. Like that's what makes you a human being, you know, are those things. And you got to invest in yourself. You got to fill your cup first, or you can't pour into anyone. You can't help anyone if you're not helping yourself first. And especially now that like we have kids now, we both have young kids, you know, I want to be there for them too, you know, and I can't do that if I'm on a downward spiral. So I talk to a therapist. I take antidepressants now. I'm real with myself. I'm honest with myself. I know when I'm on the right path. I know when I'm on the wrong path. I meditate. You know, I read. I do all. And you know, back when I was an airman on this downward spiral, all I did was ignore life, game, and drink, and just try to ignore my problems and try to wish them away. And guess what? They never went away. First, I want to just thank you for being so vulnerable, for owning your truth and sharing that story in the hopes that there's someone else out there who could hear that, resonate with them, and know that they're not the only one feeling that way. So thank you, Trey. And with that, I want to open the floor up to you, man, and just if you have any last words for our audience today.
Man, when you sit here and thank me for that, I'm just trying to be like you, Bob. I sat at the table, sitting on the other side of that door, and listened to your story that I just referenced a little earlier about your struggles with alcohol, man. I'm like, my boy gets it and he understands. And sometimes it feels as if you're on a journey by yourself when it comes to just taking care of people. And sometimes you feel like people don't get it, people don't understand. But then you realize that, man, they really do. And the people who are out there just getting it done are the ones who don't necessarily have to just talk about it. They can, share the stories of the amazing things that are happening, but those people are too busy getting out there and just getting it done. Sometimes that voice seems silent out there in the world, but it's there. And the effect and actions of the so-called do-gooders, the ones who actually just do give a crap about people, the ones who are actually just there taking care of folks around them. And that's the normal culture that we are fighting for, to create and to raise awareness for. but also give practical reasons for and ways for people to actually do it. Our ultimate goal, and we want to be a thriving nonprofit that gets to do amazing things. But you know what? If more men and women get out there and take charge of their storm, take control of not control of their life, but realize that because my life is out of control, I can use that for good. But if they find the support, they connect to whatever it is that they need, whatever resources they need, they grow, and then they get out there and make a difference, man. I hope that so many people do that it just flat out puts us out of business because we ain't needed anymore. And then we just get to sit back and watch and
have world record Thanksgivings.
Who cares about that?
No, I'm saying if you had no problems. If you had no problems and everyone's taken care of, then you'd be left to just having Thanksgiving.
But the way that everything's going to be taken care of is because we just all get out there as men and women and do it and take care of each other, neighbors, helping neighbors. When my heart just wells up with pride is when I get a phone call from somebody saying, hey, I need to tell you about this guy who needs some help. And then before they even tell me how the person needs help, they're already telling me how they're helping them. But they're kind of at their end, whether it comes to counseling or finances or whatever. I'm like, bro, yeah, come on, let's go help them. We can help them together. Let's do it. What do they need? That's success because of the fact that that person's already spent their own time and resources investing into their life. And I believe that that's the culture changing thing. But also through the process of what we do, we're able to connect people to people. And then, yes, as you're walking through those days of digging yourself out of depression and dealing with doctors and mental health and first sergeants and whatever else that you've got to deal with, and you've got somebody there that's lovingly walking beside you that does not care about what garbage you're wearing today, does not care about what you bring to the table, just loves you for you. And while we are that and want to be that for as many warriors as we come in contact with, we want to replicate that in the lives of people like yourself and that young airman who's just brand new to the Air Force that has absolutely no idea what he's doing, or that seasoned Marine who is struggling with PTSD, or that soldier who is just lonely, missing his family, who's deployed, and just trying to be a good daddy. We want to care for, love, and serve every single warrior we come in contact with, regardless of rank, religion, race, creed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All the things that divide, man, I'm so tired of a culture that divides us. That's why I will admit I was fearful for a while of the fact that, yeah, I'm a pastor. People thought I was coming in to do religious things on the base and stuff, and that's not the case. Not that those things are separate, but man, I get to serve and take care of people, no questions asked, with no ulterior motives. If the conversation happens about faith, it's because you brought it up, and it's something that we have in our private times in the confines of our friendship. That's how I believe Jesus would have done it himself. But I was fearful of those days because I feared what people thought of me. But I had to get to a place to where we owned the fact that, you know what, we as an organization and as a people realize and know that we are for every single warrior, whatever it is that you bring to the table. I don't care if you are trans, gay, bisexual, black, white, purple with polka dots. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what rank you bring to the table. I don't care what experience you bring to the table. Man, give me the more messed up person. Yeah, that's where we thrive. Give me that person who has lost a stripe or who is facing court martial, who's in trouble, who needs some hope, man, that's what the messier, the better a lot of times. And I tell people all the time that you're not going to find the help that you deserve unless you own where you really are. And when you own where you really are, again, nobody, like I said earlier, nobody can argue with that, and nobody can deny that in you because you've owned it. But you can deal with the very real realization of where you are. And you can't deal with what you don't say, and you can't deal with what you're not honest about. But you can deal with what you do. That's what I've learned and experienced through my own personal struggles and own personal stories. But every bit of that helps bridge those things that divide us. And I am not going to live, I'm not choosing to live in a society and a culture that is divided anymore. And I don't care if that's a church culture, I don't care if that's military, world is in general. I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. And we're going to lead in such a way that proves that, you know what, the conversation with somebody, like I talked about with Eric at the very beginning, like I mentioned with you when I first met you, the random conversation that you strike up with somebody who is like you or is completely opposite of you, very well may be the best thing you ever do in your life. Because that is where your life intersects with people who are going to be able to bring their experiences and into your world, and you're going to be able to bring yours into theirs. And if you're struggling out there today with that, if you're struggling with finding hope, if you're struggling with anything, put yourself around somebody who you may not even know. Somebody you might, I don't know. But I challenge you, get yourself out there and put yourself around somebody that may be able to challenge you, may be able to press into you, lead you, might end up becoming your big brother, best friend on the planet, may end up just being an acquaintance, but I promise you they will end up leaving some impact on your life, and you will leave some impact in their life, and they will become part of your solution, part of your prescription, like I said, for mental health. And you will find that you are also now getting the help that you need, and that they didn't even realize that they needed as well. So break down those divisions, break down those things, put us out of business by getting out there and just genuinely caring for people, genuinely loving people. And you know what? Use the complete messed up part of your life, that part that you're ashamed of, that part that you hide, use it. Because I promise you, I don't care what it includes. I don't care if you're my buddy who came home from Guam and had multiple affairs with people. I don't care what you are. I don't care who you are. How you own your story, how you own your reality. Because that guy, I'm telling you today, his marriage is thriving to the same woman that he had cheated on. And he is thriving today because he owned where he was, and he got the help that he deserved and the help that he needed, no matter what he dealt with and no matter what people thought. And I promise you that it is having ripple effects out there today because he was brave enough and vulnerable enough to let the tears flow and deal with what he needed to deal with.
That's beautiful, Trey. How can we find information on Every Warrior? If there's someone out there who wants to tap into your services after hearing, your incredible journey and what you're all about.
Man, the best and easiest way is to hit us up on the interwebs, everywarrior.org. It's easy, everywarrior.org. And cheap plug, download our app. We just surpassed 1,000 app downloads. And guess what? In the near future, probably maybe by the time this is actually published, you're actually going to find the Hero Front podcast on our app as well, because we want to not only highlight what amazing service members are doing, but also have a resource that is completely filled with all kinds of stuff that service members and warriors may need across the board. So that app is chock full of stuff. You can download it in the Google Play Store or on the absolutely amazing Apple App Store. And yes, I'm an Apple guy, but
I am too.
You can. I love it. Come on, I love it. But get the app. Stay up to date with that. Follow us on our socials, Every Warrior Network, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And yes, I don't even know if it's up yet at the time of recording, but we actually just created a TikTok as well. So you're going to find stories of the bison, which that's a story that we haven't even hit on yet. You're going to find very amazing, cool ways that you can charge the storm that you're facing exclusively on our new TikTok account. So find that too at Every Warrior Network. Might not be much there yet, but it's coming, I promise.
Right,
so,
I got a TikTok as well, my man. You're going to be on there. I put clips, all my clips I put on TikTok because why would I not put a clip with cool dramatic music behind it, right? Like, of course I'm going to use it.
Why not? So,
yeah.
Cool, man. Well, yeah.
Trey, it's been such a blessing, such an honor, man. I love what you're doing for our service members. I love that you use your journey to help heal others, and that as you go out there and help these airmen and these people in need, you're helping yourself, you're helping your own mental health, you're taking care of your family.
Very much.
So it's definitely reciprocal, and it's a beautiful thing, man. I wish I would have met you years ago, but I'm still happy that I'm still happy that it at least happened at all.
Hey, we only have the future to build on, so come on now.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're BFFs now, so.
You did not want to know me back then. I promise you. You didn't want to know me back then.
Ditto.
So, cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you for leading the way you do. And yes, we're BFFs now. You're right.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening till the end. This was the hero's journey of Trey McGuire, and we are out. What's up, Hero Front fam? Josh here, and I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to that episode in its entirety. I owe you a hug, and the next time I see you, let me know how many hugs I owe you, and we'll get after it. Before you turn me off, though, I want you to subscribe on YouTube to the Hero Front Podcast and give me a 5-star rating on Facebook or Apple Podcasts. It would be much, much appreciated to get your love and support. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us on this Hero Front journey, and I will see you on the next episode. Let's get after it.